Pokemon training is by far one of the most important things in competitive battles. You could make a team consisting of the top 10 best Pokemon, but if they aren't trained properly, then you'll most likely lose your battle. The reason behind that is because of two things. One, a Pokemon that has a specific job will always win against a Pokemon that is a jack of all trades. I mean, Bruce Lee once said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Also woman. And two, base stats alone isn't really enough against Pokemons that are fully trained. Now that that's settled, let's start off by finding out the different types of Pokemon stats. Currently, there are 3 different stats in Pokemon: base stats, IVs, and of course, EVs. Base stats are basically the blueprint of your Pokemon. Every Pokemon that's the same species will have the same base stat. For example, every Garchomp will have these stats, while every Pikachu will have these ones. As you may notice, Garchomp has a bunch more stat points compared to Pikachu. The reason behind that is because it's fully evolved and it's also pseudo-legendary Pokemon. If we're just judging them based on their base stats, then Garchomp is undeniably the better Pokemon. But there is a way to make Pikachu a fair bit stronger. And with that, I introduce to you IVs and EVs. IVs or individual values are the Pokemon's naturally born stats. You can't change it, but you can control it. I've already talked about IVs in my past video, so if you want an in-depth tutorial, then head on over there. But in simple terms, IVs are controlled by breeding your Pokemon. You may use different items to get different outcomes, but once you get the Pokemon, you won't be able to change its IVs. Unless you're using bottle caps, but they're not in Cobblemon just yet, so don't worry about it. Next up are EVs. EVs, or effort values, are the Pokemon's invisible stat. To explain it easier, let's just use an analogy. Imagine you're on a beach, an isolated beach. There's dead people around and you have no food whatsoever. Your objective is to return back home, but the problem is that you don't have a boat and the other island is way too far. But not far enough. So, you start swimming. As you continue to swim, your muscles also continues to develop. The muscles are basically a Pokemon's EVs, and the illness that you get from swimming for 3 days is basically your patience going down. That should explain what EVs are, but if you still don't get it, well basically, EVs are the stats that the Pokemon get from beating other Pokemon. Unlike IVs, EVs could be freely changed and controlled by the trainers, but you do have to use specific items and do specific tasks. Do keep in mind that EVs are limited. All Pokemon will only have 510 EV points, and the max EVs you can place on each stat will be 252. This makes it so that you actually have to think about where you have to place your Pokemon's EVs, instead of just maxing it all out. Now that that's settled, let's talk about getting those EVs. Just kidding, it's math time. If you think that 1 EV equals 1 stat point, well you're completely wrong, because you need 4 EV to equal 1 stat point, but only if the Pokemon that you're racing is level 100. The rest will need 8 EVs for it to equal 1 stat point. Trust me, this will be very important later on. Now, let's actually talk about getting those EVs. Funny thing is that even if you didn't know what EVs are, you've still been getting them without thinking about it. The main way you get EVs is by knocking out Pokemon. It could be from the wild or from other trainers. But do keep in mind that every Pokemon gives different EVs. For example, Shinx here gives 2 EV points for attack, while Magikarp gives 1 EV point for speed. I guess you are useful. So, if we're training up a heavy hitter like Garchomp, then we'll have to focus on its attack stat. Considering that Shinx gives 2 EV stats for attack, and it's also a very common Pokemon, that basically means that they're the best option to hunt. If you remembered, we can only put 252 EVs on a specific stat. So, let's do some math. 252 divided by 2 equals 126. Now that that's settled, let's go 126 Shinx.
But Lee, isn't 126 too much?
Well, if you think about it, then yeah, I guess so.
Is there a way to at least decrease that?
Oh yeah, there is.
Nice. So are we going to use that instead?
I will, but you? Yeah, you'll still have 126 Shinx.
This is why you lost the 5v3.
The f did you say? In order for us to save some time, we'll have to use specific items. Let me introduce to you the power items. Also the Matcha Brace, but we don't really like the Matcha Brace, so let's just talk about the power items for now. Every Pokemon stats has their own power items. Power Bracer used for attack, Power Belt used for defense, Power Lens used for special attack, Power Band used for special defense, Power Anklet used for speed, and Power Weight used for HP. Every single one of these items will give your Pokemon plus 8 EV whenever they beat a Pokemon while holding it. And if you beat a Pokemon that gives plus 2 attack while holding a Power Bracer, then the EV that you will get will turn into 10. Simply divide 252 by 10 and tada! You'll have to beat 26 Shinx.
That makes a lot of sense, but why can't we just use the Matcha Brace?
The Matcha Brace doubles the EVs that you get from beating Pokemon. Well, at first, that may look like a very cool thing, but it falls in comparison to the power items. Similar to the power items, every stat also has different vitamins. HP up for HP, protein for attack, iron for defense, calcium potassium for special attack, zinc for special defense, and carbos for speed. All of these vitamins will give your Pokemon plus 10 EVs with no other downside. This method is definitely easier and a lot more efficient than the traditional way of training. But there's one big problem. Crafting them is fairly expensive, and they're also quite rare, so looking for them might become difficult. There's also the feathers, but since each of them only give 1 EV, you'll most likely be using them to finish up your training. Now that we know how to get EVs, let's discuss how to properly distribute them. To distribute the stat points properly, we first have to ask ourselves, what do I want this Pokemon for? If it's for dealing a massive amount of physical damage, then you might want to invest in its attack stat. But if it's for setting up with sword stance and sweeping the enemy team, then attack plus speed might be the way to go. The basic thing every trainer will tell you is to focus on 2 stats when EV training. For example, a tank Pokemon should either go for 252 HP plus 252 defense, or 252 HP plus 252 special defense. While it may work for most Pokemon, that doesn't really mean that you should always do it. We could take a look at Wolfey's 2016 Gengar as an example. This Gengar is the center part of Wolfey's strategy, called Perish Trap, a strategy that revolves around using Perish Song, a move that forces any Pokemon that hears it to suddenly faint in 3 turns, and Shadow Tag, an ability that prevents any opponent to switch out while the user is on the field. There's more videos talking about the strategy, so feel free to watch them. TLDR, use Perish Song on the enemy team, keep Mega Gengar on the field, stall for 3 turns, and you win! Since the whole strategy requires Gengar to set up Perish Song and also stay alive, Wolfey opted to go for these EV spread. HP to keep Gengar alive, special defense and defense to help out with surviving, and speed to set up Perish Song before the enemy could move. You might be wondering, why did he put 4 EV on special attack? Well, that's quite simple. He might give his Gengar the opportunity to surprisingly KO another Pokemon with special attacking move. If you think that 1 stat point isn't that big of a deal,
They're the same picture.
then just think about all the times your Pokemon survived on 1 HP. In a game like Pokemon, you'll definitely be needing that extra stat. In summary, understand the role of your Pokemon, figure out the strategy you'll be using, and experiment with different EV spreads. After a few hours of training, you'll of course be tired. You might even make some mistakes. This is Elden Ring. So let's say that you made a mistake in EV training, but you don't want to train or get a new Pokemon. Lucky for you, we have ways to delete those unwanted EVs. These here are Pokemon berries. Some heal, some may cure poison, some may even wake your Pokemon up. There's a bunch of berries for you to use, but for now, we'll be focusing on the berries that reduces EVs. Pomeg for HP, Kelpsy for attack, Wallet for defense, Hondu for special attack, Greppa for special defense, and Tomato for speed. Each of these berries reduce your Pokemon's EVs by 10 points, and they also slightly increase your friendship level. So if you're trying to get that Lucario, might as well also use this. Now you might think that everything is all easy, but getting these berries might become quite unfun. Wait, I have to mutate them? Oh gosh, not again. To do this, first, you must let both of the berries that you're trying to mutate to grow beside each other. Make sure it's not diagonally. After they've fully grown, there will be a 1 in 8 chance for it to drop a mutated berry. I suggest gathering up some bone meals and using it on them, because this might take a while. I'll just give you the combinations so you'll know what berries you'll need to get the EV reduction berries. Citrus plus Haban equals Pomeg, Thorn plus Lindo equals Kelpsy, Magos plus Roselli equals Squalot, Rabuta plus Sucha equals Hondu, Normal plus Yache equals Greppa, Toga plus Oka equals Tomato. It's tomato. If you want a guide about berries, then make sure to comment down below. Alright, so we've trained our Pokemon, given it vitamins, we've gone full Breaking Bad, berry styled.
Where the fuck I am?
But there's one last thing we need to talk about, your Pokemon's personality.
Wait, personality?
Yep, you know how some people just suck at math no matter how hard they try? That's basically your Pokemon with the wrong nature.
Are you talking about yourself?
Natures doesn't just determine your Pokemon's attitude, they also affect their stats. Each nature will boost one stat and decrease another, unless you're using a neutral nature. Here's an example. This Lucario has a modest nature and increases special attack while decreasing its attack stat. Considering that Lucario is mainly a physical attacker, that means that this nature is really bad for Lucario. But if Lucario has an adamant nature, then that's perfect because adamant increases the Pokemon's attack stat while decreasing its special attack. Now, don't throw away your perfectly trained Pokemon just yet. Even if it has the wrong nature, we can still fix it with a special item. These are called stat mints. And no, they won't make your Pokemon's breath fresher, but they will change the way its stats behave. Your Gyarados is too quiet, give it a Brave Mint. Maybe that way you'll actually start battling properly. What's this? Torkoal is way too jolly, give it the Relax Mint. Gardevoir has a naughty nature. So, what's the problem? You normally find them in high elevated areas, like mountains, and also avoid going to the desert biome because you'll never find any mints there, and honestly, it's just not a good place to be in. Now that you've gotten the mint leaves, simply go to a crafting table and assemble the correct colored leaves. They all have different crafting recipes, so make sure that you have the correct items. To make it easier for everyone to understand, here's a quick rundown on what we've talked about. Step 1. Get a team. Step 2. Breed them for better IVs. Video in the description. Step 3. Train their EVs using power items, vitamins, or feathers. Step 4. Use very reducing EVs if you've made a mistake. Step 5. Change their natures with stat mints. Step 6. I don't know. That's pretty much it. Any more question? Hey it's your favorite part-time YouTuber, part-time Filipino, and of course, part-time choker, Lebby. First things first, I do want to say thank you so much for 3,000 subscribers. We've hit it last month ago, but I only have the time to thank you guys now because the video is coming out now. We're almost at 4K as well, so if you do want to subscribe, please do. It'll make me very happy, but if you don't want to, then yeah, sure, I don't mind. Also, regarding the whole comment section thingy, you guys been commenting a lot in my videos. Like a lot. That's nice. I like that. We like that. But yeah, if you want to comment even more, I do read all of them, no matter the date, the time, the address, the bank account. So I just do it. I really like replying to everyone's comments. Next thing is really sorry for uploading incredibly late. I was very burnt out on the last video and I thought I needed a break, more like a 2 months break. But yeah, now we're back. So don't worry about the videos. They're gonna come out. I'm not abandoning you guys. Last thing is the announcements. So I'm joining the Cobblemon Rivals SMP. I'm a little late to announcing this since a lot of people have already uploaded their videos or their first videos about it. But yeah, expect a lot of dramatic cinematics, story, lore, all of those. Just expect them. You'll see a lot of familiar faces. For example, Sebedaya, Seismic, Dr. Berto, and of course, Sihone, probably Sihone. Lastly, please subscribe.